much, gentlemen, for joining us. So I'll start with you, Bishop. Maybe you can tell us more about this peace initiative. We've had this peace initiative so many times. Why is this different and what is it all about?
Thank you very much for having me.
Right.
I think as we launched the Lenten campaign on Saturday, the intention is to intervene into the society with a program that runs in the Catholic Church within the liturgical calendar, and so impress upon the Kenyans that it is time to change. It is time to renew ourselves and to change our attitude towards elections. Because as you know, in times of election, many things are triggered, and possibility is that they become violent. So the need now to campaign and bring in this initiative at the time when we are gearing up to general elections, and to ask the people to truly house peace, because peace is a precondition for a credible election.
Right. Interesting that you say that. Before I get Maurice's comment on that, we've had this peace initiative so many times, even from other different churches. Around this time, we have very many people coming out, even the civil society, to encourage people to observe peace during this electionary period. But then, what is different about this, and how will this one work this time round?
Okay, this one is different in a sense that it is in liturgical calendar.
Okay.
For us Catholics, normally towards a Lenten time, we have 40 days reflection where we pray and we fast and we give alms. But then it called upon us that this being so, we need to loud and even transmit it to the wider society, given that all of us are preparing for general elections.
Right.
So the need, therefore, is to use the Catholic forum and platform and broadcast that same theme to the society with special themes this time.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's hear, Maurice, I want to hear your comment on this one. Is a peace initiative the way to go right now before the elections?
Thank you. And this is a lively debate. It's good to have this debate at this point in time. I think there will be many peace initiatives all over the place. This is the time for many people sometimes to sort of renew themselves. This is the time when it is perceived that their resources are going towards peace. And so everybody wants to occupy this space. I think it's commendable that we should talk about peace. Where I find fault with these initiatives, generally, and the one that was launched by the Catholic Church, is that they treat peace sort of as a drug that you can prescribe. You have patients who are Kenyans, and you give them a drug called peace, and therefore all of a sudden they just become peaceful. Whereas we know that even the things that lead to electoral violence are things that happen years, months before the election. And unless one is able to tackle those issues, the issues about corruption, which we have been talking about endlessly, the issues about youth unemployment, which we've also been talking about quite a bit, unless those things are tackled in good time, then you will not be able to succeed coming at the last minute and assuming that peace can be engineered.
But isn't it just a way to encourage people to observe peace during this time? Because, I mean, it's different if you decide to sit back and say, the issues have not been sorted out. But what is it that, a civil society as a church can be done?
I am a peace practitioner myself, and I can let you into something. I was part and parcel of the Kenya Daima Peace Initiative.
Right.
And about 3 years ago, we came up with a very tight program, which was supposed to address mainly issues of accountability, and therefore address the triggers of violence, including electoral violence, before we get to the time of elections and campaigns. So start very early. I left the initiative because the key principals, KEPSA, decided that the issue of accountability was too heavy for them to handle, and given their proclivity to support the regime, whether there's corruption or not. And this is what I'm saying again, that I have not heard a strong voice from the church saying we must address corruption, we must address the NYS scandal, we must know the truth about Eurobond, we must stop the ethnicization of key government institutions. These are the structural things that cause violence, whether it's electoral violence or any other violence within society. So unless we deal with this, the assumption that peace is the absence of war has never held anywhere in the world. And this is the assumption that the Catholics and others are making.
All right, Bishop, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, that peace is actually, it's not a drug that you administer to Kenyans before the elections, and that the church has not come out strongly to address the issues that lead on to, chaos or violence, during the process.
I think somehow that needs to be corrected, because the church, the mainstay of the church is to promote peace every day in the families, in the community, by prescribing what we call the 10 Commandments, teaching about love. And we see congregations coming to the church, and we see families who we intervene, and they are living in peace. But what we are saying is, perhaps what my brother is talking about, is that the peace as required by the politicians. But the peace that we preach and proclaim on the top of the roof is the making of peace. And the making of peace is a gradual. It takes time. Because if a child grows knowing peace, then she will or he will live peaceful life. But when they are interfered with, like in such a moment when you find people transiting from one point of view, is what we exactly saying. Let us address it now for safety so that we have peace. But the center of our preaching is to make peace. Making peace according to the Beatitudes, that happy are the peacemakers. Theirs is the ground.
All right.
So I think we need to distinguish between what the politicians want and what the country, the people of the country want.
All right. There's something also that Mary Morris has mentioned, that the church previously has not been, has not come out strongly to address the issues that, in essence, bring about the chaos or, discomfort among Kenyans as we head into the elections. He says, the church has not spoken, strongly about issues to do with corruption, and therefore, right now, coming up with a peace initiative, maybe it's just, giving a blanket, solution to a bigger problem that is underlying.
I would say, again, perhaps I and my brother needs to work together, and the media together, because as we project this, it seems that the church is not doing its best. No, the mainstay of the church all the time, and hear my voice, is not to condemn. We point a finger at things that happens in the society, and read our commentaries, read our pastoral letters, read our press releases. We are talking about corruption. And of late you have seen, we have said about security, about the youth. We have talked about elections. Let's have peaceful election. What other voice do we need? As a church, we cannot just point a finger at a person. While the society wants to point a finger at a person because of politics, then we don't do that. What we do is, let's retrieve the person and cast away the evil. And by so doing, cleanse the society from these evils of corruption, of fraud, of theft of public funds, and send the voice that you need to change.
All right.
And therefore, even this time of Lent is to say, we are Kenyans, including the civil society, the churches, the politicians. Let us enter into the 40 days period, and also going forward, within the election and after election, let us build peace. Let us make peace so that all of us are given the Spirit of God so that we can change and change the society. When individuals change, then we change the society. So I don't think it is just a temporal peace that we are looking for. It is not that we are prescribing just. It is a moment, of course, that we all want to rally with the religious, with the politicians, and also with the civil society. We rally together and build that one voice from each house so that it becomes a mega voice that goes out here.
All right.
Yes, the challenge is let the church speak more. And that is why we are on the television.
Okay, right
and I
now.
hope the media will give us the opportunity.
Well, here's
Thank
an
you.
opportunity, Bishop.
Thank you.
I'd like to hear, Maurice, at least the church is doing something. At least the church is, pushing for a certain agenda, a very important one as we head on to the elections. Why does it seem that, you have a problem with that? Because, I mean, we have about 5 months and a half to go. We must do something, right?
I certainly have a problem with any actors who come into the space rather late in the day.
But the church, like you mentioned, the church has been speaking.
And I certainly have a problem with some of the leaders who, to tell you the truth in the eyes of the public, have lost credibility, especially under this regime, because they have portrayed a sense that no matter what happens, they will support the regime. I do not know whether this comes from an identity politics perspective.
Who are these people?
I don't want to mention names here because I also don't want to cause trouble for you. The top leadership of the Catholic Church has not lived to its promise and to the promise it owes the people of this country. Now let me go to the peace-building approach, because this is really my field, is my academic field as well. Again, the peace-building approach requires that we work on long-term solutions, not these small cycles, like towards elections, then there we are with our papers and so on. It requires that we actually invest in peace. It requires that we analyze the triggers of violence, but also take into account the structural factors that cause violence. Now there's so many grievances all over the place in this country. Sometimes it's even difficult to see how to hold it together. You can see the insecurity in the north. I am surprised that, Senator Gideon Moi actually is calling out the president and saying, you must act on this. It has reached a point where even within the ruling families, they are not sitting together. They seem to be saying, man, you have failed, and so on. Look at, all the boundary issues. We still have robbery, cattle robbery, which for some reason we have decided to call cattle rustling, whereas Kenyans are being dispossessed of their wealth on a day-to-day basis. Look at the way the government has handled the drought. Look at the way the government has handled the doctor's strike. In all these things, Kenyans are dying. The TJRC report, the government has basically refused to address that, simply because of the interests of some of the key political elite in terms of land and so on.
Right.
The church has never spoken about these issues. And I will be the first to say, sorry, if at all I can see anywhere where they've done that. Since 2013, the church has gone quiet because the leadership of the church seems to have decided that come water, come rain, come sunshine, we are going to support this regime.
No,
that is, and there is no problem. It is their right to have a peace campaign. They can start it now. They can start it in May. There's no problem. But we must, as a society, build honesty into our systems.
Bishop, I'd like to hear your comment, and also, what is the impact that you're looking at moving forward with this initiative?
I think this initiative is very important. We will have, of course, voices that wants to challenge the voice. But it is good. We take it on board as one of those moments when we can accompany individuals within the civil society, within the wider public, so that we can journey with each individual, however much they are aggrieved. Perhaps they have a point, and what point is that perhaps the cry of the poor is what we actually are saying in our peaceful and credible election leadership integrity campaign. And it is housed in 5 themes. Mainly one is looking at the security, and also the youth, and also the environment, and also elections, and praying that we may have a people of integrity.
Right.
And to have people of integrity, we need to call upon the wider society and all of us to enter into that pool and work together towards achieving that goal which we have set.
Okay.
And one of those is to deal with the individuals. We listen to their voice. What are they saying? Are they aggrieved? But we must also say, let us dialogue. Whether it is the politicians and the church and the civil society, let us come at the dialogue table and mention things that aggrieves or what happens or pains us. And let us arbitrate, let us mediate.
Okay.
Because if we go to public, like the politicians go, and they fight one another, now who will be left to mediate for peace?
All right.
And I allowed what we call in the civil society. Earlier on, we worked together at the MCF, what we
Right.
call multi-sectoral forum,
Right.
in order to bring the IBC together.
Okay.
And therefore, we need to sail together, and we must also cast to the waves that
All right.
says that brings turbulence in our society.
All right.
So
Thank
we
you.
want to achieve a peaceful election,
All
a
right.
peaceful country.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you so much, Bishop Alfred Rotich and Maurice Odhiambo from the National Civil Society Congress. Thank you so much for your time.